Greetings. Welcome to the DragonCon Urban Fantasy Track discussion of The Magicians Season 3. And boy, you guys, do we have a lot to talk about this time or what? It's not as though there isn't enough to talk about any of the other times, but certainly this season was full of all kinds of stuff, shall we say. But first, I want to go ahead and have each of my wonderful panelists introduce themselves. And Kevin, we'll go ahead and get started with you.
Awesome. Yep, my name is Kevin Batchelder. I am the Assistant Track Director for Carol here in the Urban Fantasy Track. 20-plus year attendee at DragonCon and big fan of sci-fi fantasy and naturally urban fantasy, podcaster, all kinds of fun stuff.
Fun stuff indeed. Margie.
Hi, I'm Margie Parsons. I'm an American Sci-Fi Fantasy Media volunteer and an actor and a standardized patient for the medical school.
Oh, hi, I'm Rocky Shields. Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. Anna, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, Anna Puerta here. I am a volunteer on the Urban Fantasy Track, and I am, well, I guess I have an MFA in film and television. That's about it.
Oh, but you're also, tell them what is one of your main jobs you do on the track.
I also direct the Buffy Horror Picture Show.
Woo!
I think I might pull a Dwight Schrute and say I'm an assistant to the assistant director. And I'll just follow Kevin around with
yeah, that's right. I'm the assistant to the assistant. That's right. Yeah, well, in DragonCon parlance, that's called my third. So yeah. Marks.
Hey, I'm Marks Pyle. I'm a author, podcaster, occasional filmmaker. I also am part of the MFA club and popular fiction, and and love urban fantasy since I can remember, and love the Urban Fantasy Track on DragonCon.
Yay. Oh, one thing, you guys, especially you, Marks and Anna, will get a kick out of this, but after the first panel that we did for this for season 1, one of the comments on YouTube was she was, I hope, just joking around, but she says, so do you have to have an MFA to get to be a panelist? Or is that a requirement? No, I did not respond, but I think I laughed.
I think we probably are just people that like to talk and
and this is your interest, yes,
and like to study things and dissect them. And
oh yeah.
All right. And last but certainly not least, Rocky.
Hi, I'm Rocky Shields, fan of urban fantasy, sci-fi fantasy, and huge fan of the Urban Fantasy Track.
Yay!
18 years for me at DragonCon.
Wow.
All thanks to Carol.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, Rocky and I were
book reviewers.
These many years ago. We were both book reviewers at the same site. That's how we got to know each other. And I told him when I started talking about DragonCon, I said, hey, that sounds like fun. I think I'll go. And that was all it took. You went once, and you never missed a year since you started coming, have you?
2020, of course.
Well, yeah, but we didn't have one.
Well, and there were 2 of us the first year, and this year there'll be 17 of us going from Missouri.
Oh my goodness! Well,
our groups have grown.
Big crowd.
Yeah.
So we can either thank you for bringing more fans, or some people may be cursing your name, saying he's why the crowds are down.
It's all Rocky. Nobody else's fault.
Nobody else. Well, I have got I usually ask you some questions about the characters first off. And so I will start with that again to ask about which of the main characters' stories did you find most interesting this season? And what about some of the recurring characters? And I don't mean people both Fenn and Josh are pretty much they're part of the main cast now. So, I'm including them when I ask about, main cast. But, people like Zelda and Poppy and Harriet and Irene and, those people, were there any of those that you found particularly interesting as well? And Kevin, you get to go first.
All right. Lots of good choices here, certainly for this season. I'd say maybe for me, the most interesting one might have been Margot this season, and all the things that happened, and stepping up and getting stuck and everything else. There was a lot for her to go through. So I very much appreciated and enjoyed that one. As far as the, like you said, shall we say secondary characters or non-main cast, Dean Fogg went through a lot. So I enjoyed seeing what he had to do this season.
Yeah, and he's one of those that sometimes, he's in just about every episode at this point, but sometimes he plays a bigger role than others. So it's always interesting to see him. Okay, Margie.
I've loved Megania. I think she's absolutely incredible as a secondary character that really grabs me. In terms of the main characters, this is Margot's coming of age, where she stops being the little brat, who the instigator. She's always been kind of the person who sets the fox among the hens and kind of
let's see what happens.
The bloodbath. But she's taking accountability for her actions, and she's taking on responsibility that we haven't seen her do before. And I think that's where I started to like her better, is in this season.
Okay. Anna.
So I was also going to say Margot. It feels a little bit repetitive at this point, but I do think that this kind of was her season for the main cast. For the secondary or tertiary, or however we want to qualify them, I think the Fairy Queen was really interesting this season. And a lot of that was with Margot. Their dynamics as like two queens dealing with each other was really interesting, as well as when she heads into the human world. I thought she had a lot of really, really good moments this season.
Yeah, I got a kick out of it. I had to write it down because when I think it was after Julia and Fenn were explaining what was going on, with the McAllisters and everything, and Margot referred to the Fairy Queen as Tinker Bitch. I just thought that was hilarious. Yeah, that's about right.
A good one.
That's a very Margot comment for sure.
Yeah.
Marks, what you got?
Yeah, I would say Margot, because I liked Margot quite a bit in this season, but just to be different, I would say maybe Julia. She had a really cool arc. She's definitely the most centered of the whole group, the whole season. Very opposite of season one, Julia. And it just was an interesting journey. It got a little more in the mythos of the world of the magicians too. And then for a secondary character, perhaps, well, I always liked Felicia Day, so of course Poppy was fun. But for a story arc thing, maybe Harriet. That was a really good story arc. When you find out that she's Zelda's daughter and everything, that seemed to come out of nowhere almost, at least for me. And then to have what happened to her with the mirrors and stuff was really cool. That whole episode was really cool, how it was told also. She was an very interesting character. So I like how they take these secondary characters that could be really just like one shot, forgettable characters, and they kind of bring them back and flesh them out and develop them.
Right. Yeah, because you learn a little bit more about them each time. And they do a good job, I think, of explaining or you know, you have these people that you think of, oh my gosh, they're terrible. And then you find out a little bit more about them. And it's like, well, they're still terrible, but now I get why. You know, and they do a pretty good job of making that happen.
Mhm.
Rocky, about you?
Margot for sure, but to be different, I think one of the best story arcs was Finn, especially like with her fake daughter, and then the scene with her and Elliot, where she's telling him that, oh, this isn't exactly what I wanted, but you know, when I lost my daughter, I can't remember what episode that's in, but their scene together, just like, I was like, wow, this character has really come full circle from just being kind of a throwaway, hey, this is your bride type character in season 1. So to me, just watching the series as a whole right in a row, unlike, you know, single episode when I originally watched, I thought she had a really, really good character arc this season. And then secondary, it's Harriet. That whole 6-story episode is probably my second favorite episode of the season. And just like Mark said, learning that she's Zelda's daughter and that whole her aging and then finally seeing her mom again was really touching.
Yeah, and I thought it was pretty cool that they actually managed to get an actor of her caliber for the show, or, you know, for her fame. That's not to say the rest of them aren't great, but I mean, she's been in the business for a while and doing lots of different things. So that was cool to see her. But you actually are making a really good segue into my next question, Rocky. So thank you for that. We did not plan this. From my perspective, I felt as though here is, yes, Rikaiko. Is that how we say that? Okay, that's your daughter, is that not, Margie?
It is.
Yes, that she really likes 6 stories about magic. Well, she's going to have probably a few comments about some of this too. But I felt as though personally that this was a particularly good season. I think that there were really some standout episodes that, you know, after you see the episode, it's like that whole episode was really good and there was nothing in it that seemed wasted. And I'm just wondering how you guys feel about it. Now, how do you feel about this season? Do you agree with that, or do you disagree? Now, remember, we're acting as though we've only seen the first 3 seasons, so we're basing our feelings on that. But do you agree or disagree that this was a particularly good season, and why or why not? And Margie, you go first.
Oh, I think this was an incredibly strong season, because you have that you have some absolutely amazing things going on from a woman's point of view that you don't often get in fantasy. So I mean, it slots in urban fantasy, but so many times you don't get that perspective. And here we have the fairy queen, we have Margot, we have Alice, we have Julia and Katie, all having really, really strong storylines in one. It's just so much in one season. I had forgotten again just how jam-packed these seasons are, and they're just hitting you from every side all season long.
Okay, Anna.
I was thinking about this before we started the panel, and I think it was a lot of really amazing moments, but I do think that as a whole, like looking back at it, the season did feel like, I don't know if disjointed is the right word, but there's definitely an element that was missing that the first 2 seasons had. And I think it was probably break bills that kind of grounded the first 2 seasons. And gave sort of like a central hub for everything. Whereas in this season, everybody's kind of lost and in their own quests, literally, for various different things. And it gives us a lot of a really amazing character moments. But I think like overall season story arc, it doesn't have the same punch that the first 2 seasons had.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that like it wasn't still an amazing season. It was really great. But I don't know. Maybe that's
Okay. Well, that's why I asked. I wanted to find out who,
Yeah.
if you guys actually agreed or whatever. Marks, what's your take?
I disagree. Let's give a counter argument. Now, what I do like,
come at me.
so I feel like the quest structure gave a great spine to the story of this season. I do like the quest structure of the keys as a spine. I feel like, gosh, it feels like forever since I watched the last season. I feel like last season felt a little chaotic in some ways also, because I guess it was a lot of it was aftermath of season 1 and all that mess and trying to pick up the pieces. But what I liked about this season though is they come off with kind of, this is a quest, we need to do this, even though everybody's got little side things going on. Nobody, except for when they sing, they can't get unified.
Right.
I do like that everything works off that quest. I think it felt like it gave it good forward momentum. It did have a lack of break bills though, for sure, and that was missing. But I like a lot of the fillery stuff. There was a lot of good fillery stuff that they were able to work in addition to the whole quest. They were able to jump back and forth between worlds, and they really built off all the mythos they've created so far of all these different characters with the library. And Irene, I think, was in season 2, right? And so they brought her back and developed her family in a very bad way, and the fairies and all that stuff. I thought it was really cool how they interweaved everything together. And then of course everything falls apart at the end. So I felt, for me at least, up to this point, I felt like this was, from a structure standpoint, I felt like it was the strongest of them so far. And I really liked, especially with Julia, if you look at her arc for these 3 seasons, they create this really awesome arc for her.
Mm-hmm.
So I like this one. I like this one best up to this point, and of course you need 1 and 2 to even get to this point. But
Yeah. So I think that this one was dealing with the aftermath of season 2, like the whole entire season, and it really isn't till the end of the season that's resolved. And I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing. I'm just,
yeah, I know. I found myself halfway
about
through
it.
going, oh, it's like, I don't want everything to look back and go, if they just would stop doing things, bad things would quit happening.
Mhm.
Sometimes shows do that if they're not careful. But I did. I mean, season 2 was like that too, right? They had to recover from, oh, well, we messed up with the Beast. Beast is loose with Julia, and then we also have Renard out there.
Mhm.
So I think that's their MO.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Dean Fogg earlier, and there's he makes a comment. It's in one of the earlier episodes of this season, I think, where he says something like, "Well, you people are just going to do what you're going to do." It's not as though you're going to listen to anything he has to say. Not really. Although they do, they say, "Well, let's go see what Dean Fogg says," but then they don't actually follow it half the time. But anyway,
Yeah.
Rocky, what about you? What's your take?
It's got like 5 of my favorite episodes of the series so far, just in this season. And I thought a show called The Magicians, and they don't have magic for pretty much the whole season, but the writing was so good that they pulled it off. in my opinion. And it might have helped that I watched 13 episodes in 2 days.
Oh my
So-
gosh.
so it's one of those things where when you watch it, okay, pacing's a little bit better when you can watch it all at once than once a week. But because I remember originally watching it, I was like, by episode like 4, I was like, man, are they gonna be the whole season like this? But watching it all in a row, I think it works a lot better. So binge watching in 2026 helps. But yeah, like A Day in the Life's my favorite episode. Elliot and Josh just
Quentin.
Quentin, sorry. Quentin and Elliot's scenes in that are just my favorite of
Yeah.
the entire season. But and then like Dean Fogg in 23 is probably my second favorite episode, just because everybody gets to change up, and I felt like Quentin as the Beast was just absolutely amazing. His acting in that episode was perfect as well.
Yeah, and the
And,
way he was able to switch back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With such a quick.
And then when he gets Julius Shade, and his acting in those scenes were great as well. So to me, the acting by far of the 3 seasons just was like right. All of them were just perfect. And then the writing was excellent. And Sarah Gamble and John, I can't pronounce his last name. McNamara. A lot of the episodes will have like 3 people as writers, but like it seemed like they were
Mhm.
in on a lot of those episodes. So I felt like the writing was really strong for season 3.
I don't know. Maybe you
Okay.
guys are convincing me that I'm everything I've said is-
Well, let's do it.
Well, you know,
Wait
Anna,
till you
though,
hear Kevin.
I had your thoughts though when it originally aired.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it helps. Just
Did you watch it in 2 days, Anna, or did you spread it out? That's the
I spread it out a little bit more than 2 days. I did.
Oh.
But so but the episodes, like, it does have some of my favorite episodes in it. I mean, it's kind of like Buffy season 6. It's like it has some of my favorite episodes of the whole series, but then also
a musical episode too.
you know,
Yeah, that has to be one of her favorite episodes.
yeah,
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be, but it would be odd if it weren't.
it would be weird if it wasn't.
All right, Kevin, you got to help settle the argument here.
Well, I don't know if I'll settle it, but add fuel to the fire maybe, because I think for me this season seemed, and we've seen it in several other shows, those of us who watch a lot of shows, where at this point the writers and the actors know the characters well enough that it's time to let them shine. And that means moving away from, shall we say, the comfort of break bills or the format that we were used to in the early seasons of a show. So whether it's Buffy season 6, or you talk about Winona Earp and breaking a curse that the whole show was based on at one point during the show. I mean, they're willing to try things. So I greatly enjoyed it, but I'm not sure I could say, if you want to use the umbrella of the best season so far, I think I might have enjoyed this the most because we got to see people doing some things, stretching themselves. So as Rocky pointed out, several great episodes in and of themselves, if you just look at them on an individual basis. Might also have had my favorite musical number with Under Pressure this season.
Yeah.
And lots of other fun stuff on the ship and the flying ship and saving things. So, I greatly enjoyed it because I'm glad I'm seeing all of the actors get to extend themselves, and the characters weren't all sitting in the same room. They weren't all hanging out at the dorm, so to speak. So that was good to appreciate them there. So I'm kind of probably leaning more towards Anna in that sense, but it doesn't mean it wasn't all still top-notch stuff. It comes down to what you define is going to be that moniker for best.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my purpose, I'm going to answer my own question a little bit, which is not something I typically do, but just because I really was curious what you guys, thought, whether you shared my feeling. I just had, there were particular episodes, and we will talk about that a little bit later, but I remember just feeling that they really seemed to get, like everybody was finally on the same page as to what the show was about.
Mm.
That was kind of my feeling, and how they wanted to present it anyway. And it felt as though everything just kind of worked together really well. That was that was kind of my reaction, because at the time when I would react to a particular episode, and after I watched it, I'm like, well, that was fabulous, and then when that happened a few times, and realizing that it seemed to be kind of seamlessly fitting together, that impressed me. And I do agree, Rocky, that like you and probably the rest of you, that was how I watched the show the first time. When it actually aired first run, I would watch it when it was on every week, and then when it was, you had to wait a whole week to see the next one. And some of them, I think, do, if you can get that less time off in between episodes, it probably does add something to it. Now, speaking of the season, do you feel as though this season had a theme of some sort? And if so, what do you think it was, and how was it demonstrated in the show itself this time out? And Anna, you get to go first.
Whew. Okay. Oh, theme. I think it was probably about the working together and sort of not just being like a hero's journey, but like the hero group's journey. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it, and a lot of it came into that episode where they were under pressure.
Yeah.
But having to be like, no, we actually need to work together. We have to rely on each other. We have to trust each other, and all of those things to get where we need to go. Because I think a lot of the beginning of the season, they were off in their own little corners, and they had to really figure it out and come together.
Okay. Marks, what about you?
I think there's probably a few different things. I was trying to rack my brain while you were talking. I think maybe if I had to pick one, I think identity.
Okay.
Maybe identity. Yeah. Julia figures out who she is, what she cares about, and what she wants to do moving forward, and lets go of some of the grief and baggage weighing her down. I think Quentin figures out what he's willing to do or sacrifice for what he cares about. I think maybe you explore a little bit of identity when you're in a parallel universe. It's usually a theme. You do a lot in alternate realities, right? What makes us us and are different, different versions of when events happen to us. We get a different Penny. Penny 40 versus Penny 23, decides to stick around in the underworld for whatever reason and do that. So I think, identity and transformation, identity moving forward. Alice does probably the wrong thing. She's trying to at the end.
Right. Probably, yeah.
Yeah. She thinks, she comes to the wrong conclusion for that.
Well, she's trying to figure out her identity.
Yeah. By removing her identity, by removing her memories and stuff. She's trying to let go of her baggage in a unhealthy way, right? Just thinking you can block it out, then that makes it better. So anyway, I think that's one of the things that they touch upon in the show, I think, especially with Julia and some of the other characters. Quest, they mentioned multiple times about Quest changes you as you go through it. So you figure out who you are and transform. So that's one of them.
Okay. Let's see, Rocky.
I think adulthood, they're kind of young adults the first few seasons, and especially like Margot and Elliot, they come to realize consequences in Fillory and learn to do things better. Like Alice in some ways, but like Mark said, kind of the wrong choice there at the end. But I just feel like all of them kind of grew up this season, and like Julia especially and Margot, like they took more responsibility for their actions. So for me, it's just them finally coming into adulthood. I felt like was a big theme of the season.
Okay. Kevin.
Yeah, similar to what some folks have mentioned, and I know I talked about this when we covered season 1, that I initially started watching the show and dropped it because all of these folks were just so darn selfish. I didn't really care about them. And I really found that in season 3, while they're not all trying to be the hero or completely sacrificing everything, they were all, except for maybe Alice, at some point doing something very noble to try to help either someone else or to help the quest. So I thought they were all very much learning how to do that. And that was important, to see them be able to be more than just themselves.
Right. And certainly that was true for Margot and Elliot in terms of having to, not to think about more than just themselves in their positions too. I mean, that was certainly that was something that was outside of their usual skill set, but they managed to.
Well, and some of them, like those two, were very obvious, in the choices they made to lead Fillory and everything else. But even just some of the other stuff, and I'm not sure who mentioned it, Quentin was, rather than moping and all, was often deciding, okay, I need to do this,
right.
To help everyone. And like I said, even Julia understanding with her God powers how to use them beyond just the small group of people to benefit them. So that's how I kind of saw it, as I'm now liking these individuals more than I had in earlier seasons.
Right. Well, there was an episode, and I want to say it was one of the end ones, one of the last couple, where Alice actually asks Quentin, she says, "Are you the only one who's allowed to be depressed and hate himself?" It's not as though they were, they did reference it on occasion. So anyway, Margie.
Sorry. For me, I think maybe the theme might be redemption, because everybody's trying to clean up some past mistakes, and also maybe evolution, because everyone comes out, I feel, mostly better than they started. And I think everyone really does have a change that occurs, whether it be their point of view or their actual actions, the way they act and the way they move forward. So I think if I were going to pick a word for a theme, it would be one of those two, or both.
Okay. And we have an audience comment here from Rikaiko again. Notably, a good few Iliad Odyssey polls tying to the mass to Cassandra at hand immediately. That classical element and all of its associated themes ring a little in this season, I think. I think that's a good point. And there's also, a lot more mention made of the gods and their place in, how they fit into human society. We know, when in the past with Fillory that happened, it was the gods in Fillory that they were specifically more concerned about, whereas this is more of a general, overarching theme. So I think that's a good point. Now, the season also had several antagonists, if you want to call them that. But who do you feel was the prime candidate for the primary villain? And Marks, you get to go first.
Oh no, not me first. Gosh, I mean the library's pretty bad, but I think I think they did kind of gosh, I guess they did a little bit of a switcheroo, right? I think the Fairy Queen is kind of a big bad at first, but then they switched at least one of the big bads, and then they switch it around to make it like Irene and her family, and the library who are using the fairy dust to get magic. So I think those were pretty bads. I mean, Irene and her family were pretty bad and cool, and that's a good actress. And then her father or grandfather, I forget who was playing father, is a great actor from Battlestar Galactica, right? So,
and from Teen Wolf, but yes, he was in both those. Yeah,
it was great to see him. I think those are like the big bads, right? Because anyway, I'll move on. Let somebody else touch it under us.
Rocky, who do you see as being the bad?
As a joke, I would say Tick.
Oh yeah, no, that's a good one.
He's lurking all along.
Yeah. And then of course Irene, the Fairy Queen until her redemption at the end was probably my biggest. But Tick, I just every time. But the one funny moment though is when him and Elliot are going back and forth on what they're going to do if they win the election. I thought that was pretty good. And but yeah,
the whole campaign thing,
yeah. But definitely did not see the Irene thing coming, so I thought they did that very well. And then I can't remember the character's name, but he's in the library and he's the one who smashes.
I can't remember his name either. Does anybody know offhand? Because I always have in my notebook, in my notes, he always appears as the male librarian. I'm sure it's going to be jerk librarian or something like that. But
I would put him up there because every time he was on screen, he was doing pretty dirty things. So the mirror smashing I thought was pretty villainous. So.
Yeah, and you have to wonder if he actually knew the connection between Harriet and Zelda, and he did that anyway. That was pretty awful.
But
all right,
Kevin. Pete. It's Pete.
Right? Oh, okay.
I think.
Okay.
I'm IMDbing.
Yeah, I was going to before the panel, and then I got distracted and forgot. But because he literally appears in my notes as male librarian, and I just always know because he's really the only one that we see who doesn't get identified by name. Because is it Howard was the guy that.
The book club.
Penny opened, he has the book club and Penny, and so I mean, and he's a nice guy, but
when Alice is throwing the rocks,
what's that?
And when Alice is throwing the rocks in the book deposit, and he's so annoyed about it, I felt very satisfied.
I think it's Gavin.
Oh no, it's Gavin. You're right.
Yeah.
Pete's the other guy. Yeah.
Okay. Gavin.
Well,
that sounds better. It's like Pete. I don't know.
No, you're right.
Pete, the villainous librarian. Gavin, the villain. Yeah, that could be.
Yeah.
All right, Kevin. What about you? Who's your pick for the worst of the worst this season?
As most folks are pointing out, there really isn't one. I don't think, for the way the story plays out this season. It's more the spin of trying to get to the whole key quest, and each of the different steps in getting there. It's more about the destination to get to than someone to overcome or to beat that's a big bad. I really don't see one. I mean, maybe we could pick on the floor, the general populace of Fillory and how they are out
peasants.
the peasants trying to, kill their leaders and then not even voting properly, so to speak. But, hey, that's part of the fun of the season. So no, it's funny. I noticed that in my notes. I'm like, there's no big bad here,
Mhm.
you know?
Or who you think it starts out as, it doesn't necessarily end up.
Well, it
that
doesn't, but
way.
even it's not like a sleight of hand of changing who it was. And that's why I can't go with the Fairy Queen. I never saw her as a big bad. She was certainly creating problems for Margot and our Scooby Gang, but not in a big bad kind of way.
Right. She wasn't a beast anyway. Or not that bad. Margie.
I think I would have to go with Irene, because it's just vile. There's just no redemption for me for that. Whereas, I've always disliked the Fairy Queen because she messes with my people. But then her redemption, as she goes back for her people and puts herself literally between them and harm. I still don't like her. I can say that yes, the character ended up having an honor that I hadn't seen before. But also when the lore of fairies, that lying is like breathing, that truth is to be pinned down to a very finite on a granular level. If you're dealing with fairies, you can excuse some of the things she's done along the way. But that scene where with Margot and the Queen and the Eye has for me one of the most powerful of the season for me, because that's where you see Margot make that choice and move forward. But then you also see the Queen go, I'll get you another way. So she's not giving up at any point. She's going to keep going down her road.
Okay.
Yeah, that reminded me that when you were talking about that awesome scene where they know the Queen is watching them through the eye, and they're using all those geek references for the conversation.
That was awesome.
fiction.
Yeah, all the sci-fi references were great.
Yeah, a bunch of stuff. Yeah, thinking, well, she's not going to recognize any of those things. Okay, Anna.
Okay. Well, I'm going to circle back on the earlier question of the seasons and like which, how strong it was and all of that. I think the reason that it felt disconnected for me was because there isn't a big bad. And I think that is really what drove the first two seasons. There was the Beast, and then there was also Reynard, and there was like these big things that they were all working against. And in this one, it was like, okay, we don't have this big thing that we're all working against, but we still have to work together, which I think was a good, theme, and it gave us a lot of great stories. But I do think not having that central antagonist is what threw me off about this season. But jokingly, I'm gonna say Frey.
Yeah. She did have her moments.
She was plotting against everyone, turning them over for their treachery, even though they weren't really treacherous. But no, I don't think there really was one.
Oh, don't forget about the Joffrey wannabe, Prince Fomar.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's right. Oh my gosh, he was horrible. and
Mhm.
the fact, that whole thing with the frog, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And
When
the
when he
fairy
killed his
queen, the
when
fairy
he killed his
queen.
brother, my wife was like, "Oh my god!" She just yelled out with the wedding scene.
Oh yeah, yeah. So
Bureaucracy maybe is also the antagonist because the
yeah,
bureaucracy of the library, the bureaucracy of the afterlife, the bureaucracy of the gods, sending their plumber in. I don't know.
Oh, in the afterlife, though, they wanted Game of Thrones updates.
yeah.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
that was hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, go ahead. But I was to say you guys are actually getting to what my next question is going to be, but I wanted to share what Rikaiko has to say, that in the same way that there is such a theme of working together to overcome, I think that resistance and the desire to close yourself off serves as such serves as an antagonistic force here too. And that's, that certainly was true, especially in a couple of cases. I think probably Alice and Katie for two, who were unwilling to try to let other people know what was going on until they were forced to. But yes, we've been talking a little bit about this, but what were some of your favorite scenes or moments or exchanges between different characters this season? And a few of them have been referenced already, but Rocky, it's your turn to go first. So
Margot in the ship, when she's asking the ship permission, I think that was beautifully done. The scene with Quentin and Alice, I think it's in the finale, where she says, "Hey, I love you," and they have a very sweet moment. And then I mentioned it earlier, the scene where with I can't remember, I said her name earlier, Elliot and Finn.
Yeah.
Their scene where she's saying, this isn't the life, I really wanted, but, heard about her daughter and everything. I thought that was very well done. And then,
now, are you talking about when they were on the ship and Elliot is telling her that, now that he's no longer High King, she doesn't have to stay with him?
Yeah.
And
I thought that was
a
one
good
of the best. And then the Julia and Renard, when that character comes back, that episode, their scene together, I thought was really well done.
And how horrifying that must be for her, that he's wearing, he looks like Richard, because he took Richard, took his body, sort more or less.
And then in the 23 episode, the Joshes together, I just thought that actor played off himself very well. Some of my biggest hits came from that episode.
Okay. Kevin, what about you? You got some favorites? And it can even be a whole episode, if you had a whole episode.
I was going to say, I mean, Rocky kind of covered the whole season for us there almost, which is good. I mean, and we've mentioned it, the obviously the wonderful episode with the Quentin and Elliot together for a lifetime, beautiful stuff. We just touched on it, the fun pop culture exchanges between Margot and Elliot to try to, throw the Fairy Queen off was just hilarious. Seeing what they would come to next. It was a lot of stuff like that, spaced throughout. And as I said, I love the whole under pressure scene, in terms of not just the fun aspect of the music part of it, but the way it fit into the story and all the things that happened during that song with the ship flying and saving them and everything else was a highlight for me.
Okay. Margie, you got some favorites? You're mute.
I keep clicking the wrong icon to unmute. The scene with the eye between the queen and the two queens is amazing to me. but the scene with Quentin and Elliot as they're sitting on the dais and their memories return of the day, a life in a day. It's one of my favorites, and also one of the ones that makes me the saddest, because there's that moment that they could be what they were in the day, and Elliot wimps out. And it breaks my heart, because they do have proof of concept. They had a whole life. And
Yeah, and it was
I just-
interesting that. Oh, go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say it struck me at the time, and I wrote this in my notes, that it seemed as though at that time and in that scene that Elliot had all the memories before Quentin did, because he asked him, he said, how can you remember all that? And so it seemed as though it came to Elliot much more quickly than it did to Quentin. That was just my impression based upon that interaction. Maybe I'm wrong, but
One of the ones that I still chuckle over is, she really loves that bear.
yeah, that was, she really loves that. Yeah. Trying to be, for Margot, that's definitely toned down of what she would normally say. So yeah, that's a good one. Anna?
Okay. I've got 3.
Okay.
So the first is when Penny died, and he's watching everyone's reactions when they're learning that he's died. And he's like, finally, this guy, he's crying. Like,
Yeah. Benedict was the one, yeah.
Yeah, Benedict. And then also when he went to hell, and then Benedict was like, you came for me.
Yeah, that was sad.
Yeah. In the same vein, Josh texted you and none of you guys responded to his text message except for Julia. And then I thought that whole episode, really, but that whole part where he's kind of confronting them about them forgetting him was really good. And I think it's not really something that we see a lot in TV, like the kind of the friend on the outside of the friend group, and actually confronting sort of what that feels like. And I think they did a really good job. And then when they were breaking Katie out of the mental institution, it kind of reminded me of the bank scene in the last season, but
oh yeah,
sort of the heist of getting her out, and oh yeah, no, you pull this and you do that, and then the way they were trying to pass the key, it was fun. I mean, it was, everything in this show is like sad and fun at the same time. But
yeah, how do they do that?
Yeah, but it was a fun episode or scene.
Okay.
Mark, Carol.
For us.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, what were you gonna say, Rocky?
I had one more in 23 when Dean Fogg's like, they're like, are you sure you should be drinking right now? And he's like, hey, I know that I got 15 more of these to go.
Yeah.
I'm going to drink.
But can I just add that the end scene is so chilling to me. Yeah, will you play with me?
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's just
we will get there. But yeah, you're right. That's when he says that, it's just like, oh God. Ugh. It does. It's very chill inducing. I agree. Marks.
Yeah, so a lot similar to a lot of the ones people have already said. Like I mentioned before, the TV references.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Yeah.
I just loved anytime you say a Buffy reference. Like the best Buffy episode ever. The musical? No, the other one. Oh, okay. And we all know it's Hush. So
Yeah, right.
I think also in that same episode, there's the Elliot scene where he's going hunting for the white lady, but he finds I'll stay you too appropriate, maybe the Great Sea.
Oh yeah.
That scene was a lot of fun. And the Under Pressure scene was good. I think my top 4 episodes, which a lot of you already mentioned, and maybe even in order, if I can do that. I think 6 short stories about magic was great. I think a lot of these episodes, these best ones, show like the strength of the writing staff. Right, this is like their version of Pulp Fiction in a way of telling these stories out of order, and it was so well done. A Life in a Day. I've seen that Picard episode, Star Trek Next Generation. It's a classic where Picard lives a whole lifetime. We've seen that a few times, and that was just a really great episode and the way they did it in their own unique way, and developed Elliot and Q's relationship. And then 23, for a lot of reasons we already mentioned. But those parallel universes episodes are so great, though. Besides exploring what could have been, it's a great way for all the actors to really stretch and show different versions of themselves. And I love those kind of episodes. Plus, even though it's not the same episode, when Cassandra, or 6 stories, whenever an Alice who's Cassandra or whatever, she gets to play that character who's not really her. Those are great ways to see the characters stretch. The actors stretch their acting chops. And then All That Josh, because it's a musical, it develops Josh a lot, like Anna said. And I think the reason why Under Pressure, besides being a good song, it works so well, is it really weaves into the story development and a major plot point. Like one of the things that Buffy the Vampire Slayer's musical does so well is every story, besides being original, it moves the plot forward and develops the characters in some way. A lot of musicals don't do that, and All the Josh didn't really do that, except for that last one that really kind of they told how they were meeting this final end of the plot and having to work together to overcome it at the very end, and made it really powerful. Plus, there's a flying boat, so yeah.
Well, there's a flying boat. Yeah. When that happened, I mean, I was trying to remember what that was like the first time watching that. When it's going towards the end, towards the edge, if you want to call it that, and then all of a sudden takes off, and you're like, whoa. I was trying to remember if I was super shocked the first time, because I knew that they weren't going to go over the cliff, because I have seen it before, but it's been a while.
Think about how different the season would have been. The boat just like, let's do a little dive, and like, hey, there's a castle down there.
That's right. And that's where we're going. Now, our Rikaiko here has this, this was a continuation of her other comment about antagonistic, but this is also an exchange. So I saved it for this part of the conversation. The exchange between Harriet and Zelda in 6 short stories was definitely an example of how people wanted to, not give away too much of themselves. But that was really well done, because I don't think, having seen it, when I saw it the first time, I don't believe I suspected that the two of them were related at all until we found out that in fact they are. Now, when Penny is in the underworld, after he takes that card, but before he gives it away to Sylvia, and he's in there talking to Hades. So this is Penny, not Penny 23. Hades tells him, magic is a carrot the gods use to keep humans in check. And what my question is that what evidence of this do we see in the show? How does that kind of, how does that play out in the show? And Kevin, I know you're going to love me for this, but you're up first.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I found it interesting when he said it, but I also thought as of where we're at now, I wasn't sure I was seeing where they were going with that.
Okay. Gotcha. Margie?
I think it made a lot of sense to me because it see how quickly we can turn it off. All we have to do is flip a switch. We can give it to you. We can take it away. We want you to have it to do what we want you to do with it. And when you don't do that, we'll punish you for it. And then when you look at it, if you follow Julia's arc, you can see where magic has been carrot, stick, at various points, swinging back and forth between the two. And every time she starts to grow in her power and her understanding, she gets knocked back. But she persists, which I think is really interesting. So there's that carrot out in front of her. And with Alice, it's the knowledge. And the magic is the path to the knowledge. So I think that statement rings true for this season and for the series.
Okay. Yeah, and there's something came to my mind, but then it's left me already. Something that you said early on. It'll come back. Anna.
Can you repeat the question?
Well, when Penny is in the underworld with Hades, Hades is telling him, that Penny's talking about, well, my friends are on this quest and they're trying to do all this, and Hades tells him, well, magic, it always comes back. And this, I remember now what I was going to say. But what he said to him is that magic is a carrot the gods use to keep humans in check. And so my question is, how do you think that, or what is the evidence we see of this within the series as it has played out so far? And Margie, my comment that I was going to make was that when you said that about how far they could go, their red line appears to be you can't kill gods, because they sure let them do a lot of other stuff with it. But if the red line is, okay, we're taking it away when you do this. But in any case, Anna, how do you see that? Do you see evidence of that being employed in the show?
Yeah, I think everyone's kind of always chasing magic everywhere, like in real life too. I think that's part of being human, is kind of chasing something. I don't know. It's a hard question.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Well, if you think of anything during
Yeah.
if anything else occurs to you, just speak up.
I mean, Julia's constantly chasing magic. I mean, Margie kind of said that as well, but I think the fact that she has magic and wants to get rid of it, and then Alice is kind of taking it back, is sort of I don't know. It's maybe something's there. There's something there. I can't put it together though. Maybe Marks can put it together.
Marks, you put it together for us.
I don't know. I was pretty puzzled when you first said it. I'm glad I wasn't first. I think as was alluded to already, I think what we saw is that magic. Well, the gods are using magic as a leverage, right, on humans to manipulate them and punish them. It is a little weird though, because except for that one moment, I don't really see it happening a whole lot so far in the show. What I see more of is magic being like an addiction or temptation or an unhealthy obsession sometimes by a lot of the magicians. I see that a lot more in the show, in the theme of the show and stuff, than what gods are directly doing, because they do miracles and stuff when they want to. So, but they do ultimately control it all, and they can take it away if they want, and they are manipulating people in some ways, similar to like Supernatural talking about free will and stuff, and sometimes also. So, but I think it's puzzling. It's hard for me because I don't really see it yet in the show as directly as that statement that Hades made makes it feel like, except for that they turned it off. So to me, it's more like, I don't know, like they're just like, well, they're like drug dealers almost.
Right. Now
We're going to take your drugs away. And so everybody starts fighting each other over trying to get the same addiction, same results, even catching fairies and stuff. And then they can, if they want to, they give it out to some people and stuff. So it's an interesting dynamic with the magic and the gods. So
it's kind of like Corrupt-A-Wish. When you get to your objective, you find out it's kind of sour, and then you have to reconfigure all of your thinking again.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the gods, at least that we've seen so far, are just jerks, right? And they don't think a whole lot about people as much. They just see themselves above, and in a way, the magicians are kind of one step away from that too, right? They see themselves as more special than people, and kind of do things that they're breaking laws and doing whatever they want, as long as they have magic. They're little demigods running around doing stuff. So it's interesting themes to play around with.
I think you also, to that, when Julia is sort of learning the god ropes from the other god,
Iris.
Iris.
Thank you.
Messenger God,
I can't remember her name. And she's like, you don't need to concern yourself with like the small human issues. They definitely see them. I think it's more in a cyclical nature, like humans in millennia are kind of this, not so much the small human life, but like the big human life of
The big picture kind of thing.
the big picture, cyclical human nature, constant sort of thing, and not how it affects them in their actual like day-to-day life.
Yeah, and Iris is like, as long as you grant 1 or 2 wishes a week, they'll be happy.
Yeah.
But I felt like Poseidon. He made the 7 keys. I think he's probably
Prometheus.
the least
Prometheus, yeah.
Prometheus. He's probably in the show the least dickish god.
I'm sorry. I forgot. I wrote this down. I forgot to say it. Prometheus stowed fire from the gods. Magic is fire, the spark. So I mentioned.
Sorry.
Sorry.
There
Okay.
we go.
And they are pretty addicted. That one professor tells Alice that she almost slept with a werewolf to get some kind of magic back. And then, of course, Alice is paying a vampire before Julia stops her to try to get some magic back. So a lot of ways the show does show magic as pretty addictive. But yeah, that is a hard question, Carol.
I'm sorry. It just really struck me at the time. I thought that you've got a show about magicians, and here's one of the gods who is actually a little more sympathetic toward humans than some of the others are. See so many of them all the time.
I can't remember the god in the first episode at the party, but he just absolutely doesn't care about anything.
I wonder if the fact that Julia stopped chasing the carrot is what singled her out as a candidate to become a god. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, well, for some reason, she was seen as being worthy enough. And how creepy was it talk about scenes and moments, how creepy was it throughout this season when just these random people on the street would start talking to Julia? And that you could, I mean, we knew they were taken over by someone else, but she's looking around like, what the hell? Because they're saying things like, you're taking much too long, Julia. You need to get busy, or and then they would go, back to being whoever they were. But that was the first couple times that happened. I was like, whoa, because you never knew when it was going to happen.
It's like a creepy version of Joan of Arcadia. I don't know if you saw that or not, but God always
Oh
talked to her.
gosh, yeah. I haven't heard anybody reference that show in a long time. I used to love that show.
Mm-hmm.
I even have the DVDs to prove it. So yeah, now it makes me want to watch it again sometime. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe we'll have some panels about that. Okay, so now for our last question. What about the finale, folks? What did you think of this one? Did you feel as though it wrapped things up, and we certainly leave our people in a bit of a pickle, I would say. But how did it land with you? How did it work for you? And Margie, you go first, please.
Well, the first time through, I had a really hard time with it. Just keeping track of it. I don't know why, because the second time through, obviously, I know what's happening the second time through, but It wasn't as obscure to me. But I just thought it ended. It's one of my favorite endings. But it plants so many seeds that are going to come to fruition. And I think maybe it was just a little bit too much all at one time.
Okay, that's fair. Anna?
So I had to remember what I mean, before the panel, I was looking at the list of episodes, and I was like, how did this season end? I couldn't remember. And again, I think it's because there is not a central antagonist. That we're going to go defeat the bad guy now. Here's the big fight and it's over. Obviously we have the end of our 7 Keys quest. But I think there is kind of a okay, what does that look like? What does that mean? What's kind of going on with it? But it ends up kind of being a lot of setup for next season, because we don't really know. Right now, if none of us have watched seasons 4 or 5, we're just like, who's that guy? What's that about?
Right,
we don't
right.
know. But I guess we're about to find out.
Yeah, I think
at the end of April for
that's right. And I think you're both right in that there was just a lot. There was so much that happens, and it just kind of makes you go, what? Marks.
Yeah, I mean, everything devolved in chaos like typical magician's finale. People couldn't stay on the plan. But I think I liked it overall. I mean, I figured things would fall apart, of course, and I think to take the term about it being a lot happening, and I think and also reminds me of what Rocky said earlier too about binging it. I think this show was written for binging before binging was a thing. It's very much like it's ongoing storyline. I think it benefits from us watching it and quick
closer together rather
close
than
together.
Apart.
Yeah. And I think that because there is a lot of stuff going on throughout the whole season. There's a lot of plot threads, and that come to a climax here in the end of episode 13. But I thought I liked it overall. I liked how everything came together. I liked the introduction of a new big bad with a new little slogan, like "Will you play with me?" You always gotta have. It's like a Doctor Who thing, "Are you my mummy?" or
Oh yeah.
I think that's cool. I don't love. I mean, when I first saw they all got their minds erased and they're all separate. I don't love that because I don't love separating the group, all the time. That's probably the only thing I didn't really like about that. My biggest criticism, I guess, of it. But it was very true to magicians. They had a plan, and then other people had secret plans, and they all messed up the plan. So,
Yeah, there was a sub plan of like
Yep.
in my notes I had written that like something that happened, or when Elliot shot the monster guy, and I put in parentheses, not part of the official plan.
yep.
Yeah.
And Alice doing her thing. Yeah, I mean, everybody was doing their own stuff. So and they messed up Julia's thing. You know what? She had to go and make some more keys because Alice
Oh,
messed
they're all
it up.
supposed to work together. Did
Yeah,
they learn
right?
nothing
They
from
need
under
a scene
pressure?
under pressure. That's the problem. You always
That's
gotta go in there
right.
steaming.
They needed the unity key again. Yeah, just by itself. Rocky, what about you?
It's probably my favorite of the three so far, just because of certain scenes, like the Fairy Queen when she tells
Yeah, it's Irene McAllister. Yeah.
when she's like, "I'll always be a queen," right before she stabs her. The Alice and Dean Fogg scene in like the little library prison. I thought that was like a great scene.
Oh,
So for me, it was my favorite just because of the acting. And then I felt like the conclusion next to Julia going off with the Beast was probably my favorite ending of the three seasons. And then I thought that they wrapped everything up pretty good, like the buildup of Julia becoming a goddess. Then to have to give that up to bring magic back, I thought was a very great self-sacrifice. So to me, just like the acting, because of the acting, I thought it was my favorite of the three so far season finales. And then one other thing about the season as a whole, I thought whoever the costume designer was for the show did like amazing, especially like Margot's outfits and stuff, and Elliot's. All the costuming was just fantastic throughout the whole season.
well, I know I've mentioned. Go ahead, Margie.
I was just going to add on to that. One of the things that kept bugging me through the whole season was how hard they made Margot in terms of makeup and costume. Her makeup was much darker red, all sharp lines, all contrast, and her costumes were harder too, and it made her look so much older and worn.
That's an interesting point. Well, and now I forgot my point again. It was something. It had something to do with the oh yeah, I have mentioned before that I had wished that we had actually done this a year ago before the Magicians cast was at Con, and it was great. It was absolutely great to have them there. Don't get me wrong, but there are some things I would have asked. Like I would have asked Margot if she kept any of her eye patches. Right?
Cool
Not
thing.
would have Summer, not Margot. But I would have been curious. But usually somebody in the audience asks, "What things did you take from set?" But nobody asked them that this time, so that was interesting.
There was an auction after the cancel, a series of auctions, and I know that several of the eye patches ended up in the auctions in the lots.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, those were pretty iconic as it goes. All right, Kevin, bring us home.
Well, much like the chaos of the episode, I think my comments might be a little chaotic.
That's okay.
I liked a lot of the early stuff of the finale episode, kind of the buildup of getting there, getting to the castle and how they had to do it and the information they pulled. I liked the very end with, again, the "will you play with me?" and "oh no, we've got a big bad again."
Yeah.
The actual time in the castle, I can't say I was as much of a fan of for a couple of reasons. Number one, and we've talked about this, almost all of us, this season was very much about the group together on a quest. And then the finale, they all went their separate ways. Everybody screwed up the plan. I mean, not one person, everybody to some degree. And it's like, in some ways, that's very on brand for the magicians. And in other ways, it's like, did you not learn an effing thing
And
all
right.
season, gang?
Yeah, like, do we have to do that song again? And
Yeah,
teach it all the way?
it's going to go to hell, and they're all doing their own thing again. So I was a little frustrated as a viewer, like, faceplant. But also,
Right, right.
I like when writers, are bold and do a couple of plot twists, especially towards an end. But there were like 7 of them in a 10-minute span. It was whiplash for
Right,
me, Oh, we killed the god already. Oh, we destroyed the keys. Oh, we're remaking the keys. Oh, the monster's jumping to someone else. Oh, we're restarting magic. No, we're letting the library take it over. It's like, my goodness, I couldn't put notes fast enough. So it was a little too much, maybe, of a good thing for me. So it doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it, but it was definitely who did, oh, look at the end. Okay, focus on the end. Focus on the shiny thing. There's a new big bad. So, I didn't dislike it. I just thought it was a bit too much happening after a whole season building up to it.
Well, that is a good point that, they did seem to have forgotten what
Everything.
it was that made them strong in the first place.
Yeah, everything.
I
And
mean,
not just one of them. You can, for me, I'm
all
like,
of them.
it's Alice. She always does something totally like this. But they had everybody from Elliot, and Julia giving it up to come in and make the keys, and then Dean Fogg, now seeming like he's joined the dark side by helping the McAllisters. So I was like,
You know who didn't? And this is the true hero of the show, is Josh.
gosh,
Yeah, Josh was just like, well, and
he was about the
trying to
only
get
one who
everybody
didn't.
to text each other. Like, if y'all just communicated.
yeah. Well, and it was due to Josh, having Julia. It was his idea for her to bring back the sentient trees, and now part of his reason for doing that was because he wanted to impress the Florians, so that vote Children of Earth. He's going around giving out campaign flyers afterwards, but it was that was like the final thing that she did. That was on her step to goddesshood or whatever, which, the thing is, it didn't end up lasting long, but, she did what she needed to. But, and even Quentin making the deal the night before by going into this woman's dream. And how did he do that? That wasn't really explained either. But
that was Julia left him a little spark of magic.
Got
right.
one
But still, you'd think that the whole thing about going into somebody's dream would have been a different skill aside from just magic. Because if it was just the magic, why weren't they doing that all the time when they had magic? I don't know. But I agree. There was, especially the scene the scenes at the castle, I think there was a lot going on, but it was kind of whiplashy. But go ahead.
I was going to say one thing from my first watch to this watch, I still feel like they kept Penny in astral form like way too long.
Oh, well, we'll see where that all goes. We'll see. Considering that for some of us, it's been several years since we've watched it. But in any case, I'm looking forward to season 4. I hope that all of you are too, and I hope that our viewers are. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to do this. I certainly appreciate it, and we didn't have weather issues this time to worry about. Last time, I was afraid we were, and I could hear it at one point. There was storming off in the distance, but I kept thinking, don't come any closer, and it didn't. So tonight that wasn't even an issue, and I'm very glad. But I appreciate it very much. Aside from Anna, who lives probably only about an hour and a half from me, the rest of you live in other parts of the country, and your presence here is much appreciated as well. So we will look forward to discussing season 4 next month. Many thanks to everyone who is watching. And we will be back with season 4, and I will be getting started on some author interviews soon. So those will also be showing up here on the YouTube channel. But stay tuned to our Facebook page for all that information. I will always post things there when they're coming up. So we appreciate everybody. Thanks again to my wonderful panelists. Thanks to all of our viewers, and we will see you next month. Goodbye, all.
Have fun.
Bye.
Bye.